Hey guys, welcome to my channel, YouTube Success Strategies, where I help you start, build, and grow your YouTube channel. And in this video, I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to make a thumbnail. And the thumbnail is the thing that people click on to get to your video. It's essential to have a really good thumbnail. And if you don't go in and actually make and put in a custom thumbnail in your video, what happens is YouTube actually will take just a scene out of your video and use that as the thumbnail. And let me tell you, that is not the thumbnail that you want to drive traffic to your video. You want something really nice, really professional, and it's really easy to do, and I'm going to show you how to do it in this video. And what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to use this camera right here. This is actually the camera that I'm using to take this video. It's a really cheap camera. This is a Sony DSC HX5, and I actually get these on eBay for less than 50 bucks. I actually have like 6 of them. 3 of them I broke. I actually dropped them on concrete and I got them spread all over the place, just in case, you don't want to lose your camera if you're doing daily videos. These are really cheap for a few $100. You can pick up a whole bunch of them. As a matter of fact, most of the times they come with the card and the batteries and the charger and everything. Sometimes the cases and the straps and everything. I would highly recommend starting out with something like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to the easy mode. Just turn it on. It's got a little display in the back. And I want to take a quick picture. I'm going to show you what I want to take a picture of, and we'll use that as the thumbnail for this video. Alright, so take a look at this. This is, it's actually a fabric that is right next to my front door. It looks like it's kind of Egyptian-like. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a quick picture of that, and you kind of have to review it to make sure you don't get a glare. And if you kind of do it at an angle, you can kind of avoid the glare. As a matter of fact, I can turn off the flash and try it that way. And usually what I do is I'll take like 2 or 3 pictures of the same thing and try to use the best one out of all those. And that's a pretty good picture. I think I'm happy with that one. Okay, so I popped out the SD card and just popped it right in my computer. And for making thumbnails, I actually use an online program. And you can go to Pixlr.com. It's Pixlr.com, and this is an online app. You don't have to pay for it. It's free. It's really easy to use. And I click this button right here, Open Pixlr Editor. And from there, it takes me over to here where I have to click on this little button that says click here, and then allow over here. This enables the flash. It actually runs flash in the background. And this is a little slow because it's live, it's real time, and my internet's a little bit slow. So basically what you do is it has different options here. You want to click on create a new image, and then you want to actually change the width. So for YouTube, the width is 1280 and the height is 720, and those numbers, you got to burn them into your head. 1280 and 720, it's always the same. That's the thumbnail picture recommended for YouTube. And then from here, you want to go to layer, open image as layer, and then you scroll to your SD card. And this one is actually in DCIM. And let's scroll all the way down. It's probably, we'll just use the last one right here. And you'll see that it really blew out the picture because the picture is a lot larger. You can actually take the picture, bring it into in like a different editor and resize it to 1280 by 720 and bring it in, or you can just leave it in here. And from here, you want to go edit and then free transform. And what that does is it selects the whole picture. Now, if you actually move the picture around, it skews it unless you hit the shift button. So first, you want to hold down the shift button on the keyboard and then come up to the corner and then just kind of drag it down. And there's always seems like there's a little delay. I don't know if it's like the graphic editor that's a little slow at processing this kind of image on my computer here. But you can see, and then I actually clicked outside of this and says, do you want to apply the changes? And you actually hit no, and it'll actually go back to the beginning. and you can just hit cancel. So basically you have to start over, edit free transform, and you just have to hold the shift and try it again. And what you really have to do is not click outside of the image, because if you click outside up here, then it thinks you're done. So what you really have to do is just grab a corner while you're holding the shift, resize it, bring it down, and bring it up to right about there. And you can actually make it to any size you really want. You can put it wherever you want. You can resize it to wherever you want. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, so I let go of the shift button, and if I click outside of this box, it'll ask me, do you want to apply the changes? And I hit yes. And what that actually does is if you come up to the little select button here, you'll notice that it actually changed the size and it cut off the edges. So from here, what you can do is you can go back into edit free transform, and you can zoom a little bit more, hold the shift button down, and then I can actually zoom in, say for something like this. That looks pretty good. So then I click outside again, and there you have it. So that's basically just putting the picture in the background. And then over here it has a little A button, and then what I like to do is I actually like to hit the caps lock to make all capitals, and then I start typing, and I'll put how to make a professional thumbnail. Hopefully I spelled that right. And then I'll change the color to white so you can actually see it. And then down here you can center it, and then you can choose your font. And what I actually did is I downloaded a font, and I like to use a font called Blowbrush. And you really don't want to use someone else's font. What you really want is your own font, I would say, for all the thumbnails. And kind of use that as your signature font. So if someone sees something, then they actually can know it's yours. I kind of like to have the same consistent kind of a thumbnail. So see, it's a little bit bigger than the whole screen, and you can change your font size down here. And I say typically you want at least 100 size. I typically go from 100 to 150 as far as the font size. And then I kind of center it, and then click OK. And then up here, if you hit the select button, you can move it around. You can put it wherever you want. Maybe make it a little bit. The only problem is if you put it down to the right, there's actually all the way in the bottom, you get the time of the video that covers up your words. You definitely don't want to go down there. And then sometimes if you put it all the way on the top, there's actually, on certain previews, there's the title of the video on the top, and you'll actually cover it up. So really what I like to do is I like to kind of center it in the middle. And for example, I'm covering up some faces, so maybe I'll come down just a little bit more, and that's kind of how I decide to place my text. And then over here on the right you have the text over here selected. So what I do is I right click and go to layer styles, and layer styles, usually I click drop shadow, bevel, and then over here on the color I change it to blue. I click here and I click here and I click OK. I pretty much do the same thing every time, and I click OK here. And what that does is it kind of makes a 3D text on your thumbnail. And then from here what I like to do is I like to actually put some black background behind the text. And what I did is I actually downloaded an image that's just black. So I go to layer, insert images layer, and I actually put it on my desktop. And on my desktop it's called Blackbird. And what I do from there is just do edit, free transform, and then I just change the size of this. It's kind of like just a round kind of a circle. And what I do is I put it's actually in front of the text now, but I stretch it out. And then over here, what you can do is actually drag it down below the text. and you can see how it kind of just makes the text pop, putting that black behind it, especially if it's on a lighter background. And then from here, what I do is I usually kind of mark the edge right here with my cursor, bring it over to the edge of the screen because that's where it'll get cut off. I go to Edit, Free Transform, and then click outside of that box and then click Yes. And what that does is it actually cuts it right here, and then I'll kind of line it up there, move this over here and do the same to the other side. And then I'll do Edit, Free Transform, click anywhere out here, and yes, that cuts the other side. And then from there, what I like to do is go back to Edit, Free Transform, and that kind of shows you, you know, sometimes it's hard to make out where the background actually is. I like to center it, and then I kind of shrink it, just barely to set it on the text, and then just click anywhere out there and click Yes. And then from here, to make the second one for the second text, I just like to come back over to the layer, right click, and do Duplicate Layer. And that makes a duplicate copy, and then you can just drag it down to this one, go to Edit, Free Transform, and then just kind of stretch it behind this text. Really easy to do. It's a lot of steps at first, but once you do it 1,000 times, it's really easy to do. And that's my thumbnail right there, how to make a professional thumbnail. And then you just do File, Save, and then save as, I like to save it as a JPEG, and go, well, I actually haven't made a folder, so I'll actually make a new folder on my desktop, and I'll just name it How to Make a Thumbnail. And that, I usually put all my video files in there, and the actual thumbnail. So this is actually called thumbnail, if I could spell it. Thumbnail.jpg, and then so that saves it as an image. I also like to save it as a PXD file, the very bottom selection. And what that does is it actually saves it with all the layers and everything. So if you need to go back into it and open it up in this editor, you have all your layers and you can move the text and the backgrounds and everything, versus if it's just a JPEG, then you really can't make the edits and move stuff around without starting over from the picture. So that's pretty much it. It's really easy, and that's how I make my thumbnails. Okay, so now you can add thumbnails to the list of improvements that you can work on as far as your YouTube channel. And remember, the first thing, I would say the very first thing, the number one most important thing for your YouTube channel is to put out daily content on a regular basis. Get in the habit of putting out daily videos. As a matter of fact, tomorrow morning I am just too busy to actually put out another video for my YouTube Success Strategies channel. And what I'm actually doing is I'm recording it tonight in the nighttime. You can actually schedule the release of the video release. So you can actually, I can post it now and put a timer on it, and it'll actually release tomorrow at any time, or months into the future, I can release my videos at any time. As a matter of fact, a lot of people batch their videos, and they'll sit down and make 7 videos and have them release one by one through the whole week. And then they don't have to worry about videos except for once a week to sit down and make a batch of 7. And I haven't really got to that point yet. I'm pretty much doing one by one and thinking about the content all day. I think it really helps to concentrate on the content. And the other thing that I'm really focused on is improving every time I make a video. And for me, it started with making the daily videos. Then I was working on the content and the presentation. That was number one. And then I moved into improving the thumbnails. And remember, with the thumbnails, you can always go back and change your titles, change your thumbnails, and it won't really, on your video, if you upload the video, you really can't change the video. You can't add to it. You can't make it longer or shorter, because otherwise, the only way to do it is to delete it and re-upload another one. And if you delete it, you actually lose all of your views and all of your comments, and you definitely don't want to do that. But you can always go back and change the title and the thumbnail, which is really cool. And the other thing I'm working on, I've pretty much mastered, pretty much everything, the content, the thumbnails and everything. And I'm at a point where I need to upgrade my equipment. That is like the number one thing that is on my horizon right now, and I actually made a really big order, and I'm actually upgrading my cameras and my lighting and my microphones and the whole thing, and that's coming up probably in a few videos. It'll probably be here in the middle of next week, so that'll be interesting, going through my new camera and all the equipment, and I'll definitely keep you apprised of what's going on as soon as I get all my gear, and then we'll go through it and I'll show you the difference it can make between a cheap camera, something like this. I mean, this camera will get you started, but I've been putting out probably 300, and I'm probably up to 330 videos now with these cheap cameras, and at some point, you want to really think about this, after you master pretty much everything else, upgrading your equipment. That's kind of the last thing you really want to do after you master pretty much the daily content, the focused content, the thumbnails and everything else, making videos 10 minutes long. So that's pretty much it. That is the thumbnail in a nutshell. It's really easy to do. I would highly recommend that you work on making thumbnails and even go back into some of your videos and update the thumbnails with some new content. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.